Hi, Grandma here, reading The Door in the Wall, and today I'm going to begin chapter 3. Before I get started, though, I want to talk about the title, The Door in the Wall. When Luke first came to help Robin, Robin was feeling pretty desperate. His parents were gone. His friends walked by. He could hear them walking by, but none of them visited. His servants had all disappeared, and he couldn't get out of bed. His legs didn't work. He felt really trapped, and when Luke came to rescue him, Luke said, always remember, Robin, around every wall, within every wall, there's always a door. And he helped Robin find a door by taking him back to the monastery. What are some of the other things he did to help Robin? He brought him materials for him to whittle. He also carried him around and introduced him to other brothers in the community. And just by having him in a different location was helpful. He was in a place where he could get help. Brother Luke would massage his legs, for instance, and that seemed to help him grow stronger. So let's continue reading with chapter 3. As the days grew longer, the plague abated somewhat. Fewer people came to the hospital for care, and those who had not died became well and went to their homes. Okay, we were talking earlier about context clues. In figuring out vocabulary words. So here we have a word abated. The plague abated. Does it mean it was worse, or did it mean it was better? And the next sentence tells us that fewer people came to the hospital for care, and those who had not died became well and went home. So things were getting better. The plague had decreased, and that's what abated means. Earlier, we also talked about the word palate and the meaning. And again, you will be able to tell if you've forgotten what palate means by the context coming up. The cloisters were once more free of strangers, and the corridors cleared of beds and pallets. Early one bright morning, Brother Luke came for Robin, taking him on his back, as before. "See that thy hold is strong," he said, "for I shall carry thee a good way. 'Tis good exercise for thine arms to make thee hold on. And will be good exercise for me, too, carrying a great lad of 10. Robin laughed because he knew he was small for his age. "I have somewhat in mind for thee," said Brother Luke. He carried Robin in and out of the halls and chambers, kitchen and parlors, cloisters and outer court, refectory and almonry, stopping as always in the chapel for prayers. Then they went to the garden at the far side of the monastery. "Here thy whitling will be more at home," said the friar, settling Robin in a small trundle cart and giving him the piece of the little cross, which was almost finished. "Brother Michael will welcome thee to the part of the garden when thou art weary of being here. Brother Matthew will look out for thee, and yonder is Brother David, the stone master. Wilt look after Robin?" he called to the monk in the carpenter's shop. Brother Matthew nodded and left his work to examine what Robin was doing. "Fret not," he said, "I see he is one of us." "'Twill be a cross when it's done," said Robin in greeting, putting the two pieces together to show how they went. "But how to fasten them I know not. Could you tell me?" "I will surely," the monk assured him, "but I have better tools. Come nearer where we can reach them." He moved the trundle cart close to the workbench, where he found a chisel. "Now we shall make a half joint so, and fit it tightly, cutting each piece only halfway through the wood, so the cross piece will just fit into the upright one." He showed Robin how to hold the sharp tool and how carefully he must work so it wouldn't go through the wood entirely. Then he explained, "We shall secure it with fish glue, and the dust which comes from using the rubbing stone to polish the wood will fill in the least crack and make all smooth." He went back to work. Robin, too, went to work. It was exciting to use the sharp chisel. It slid easily into the wood, peeling off the smallest slivers, which fell in a pleasant litter around him. Soon the square place appeared where the other piece of wood would fit. For some reason that he did not know, Robin felt very content. He loved the smell of the wood he was whittling, even the acrid smell of the oak that Brother Matthew was working. He liked the sharp whistle of the plane as it slid over the board, and the ringing sound of the chisel on stone from the mason's shed. Even the tiresome call of the cuckoo in the walnut tree was only a pleasant sound of summer. The sky was like the garment of Our Lady, blue, gold-bordered. Robin stopped to rest, watching the birds that darted about the garden. He felt so strong that he was sure he would soon be able to get up and walk. He began to whistle and set to work again. For a long time, only these homely sounds were heard in the garden close, for the monks did not talk as they worked. Then it happened. The sharp chisel slipped and cut a gash across the longer piece of the cross. It broke. Away flew the other piece as far as Robin could throw it, and after it went the chisel, narrowly missing Brother Matthew's head. Robin's face was drawn into a black cloud, and if he had been able, he would have stormed out of the garden, but he was bound to stay where he was. So he took out his anger in words. "Treacherous, misguided tool," he shouted, "I'll have no more of you." Brother Matthew looked up in astonishment. "'Tis not the tool that is at fault, but thine unskilled hands," he said quietly. "If thou art to learn to use it, patience and care are better teachers than a bad temper." "Think you I am but a carpenter's son and apprentice?" But as Brother Matthew kept a steady gaze on Robin, anger evaporated. He covered his eyes with his arms and wished he had been truly a carpenter's son. Then his father would not have been away at the war, and his mother would not be waiting on the Queen. They would have been at home, and he with them. "Oh, tomorrow is another day," comforted Brother Matthew. "Take thy rest for now, and thou wilt do better work next time. Here is Brother Luke coming to care for thee. I shall not tell him how I nearly lost my head." Brother Matthew's eyes twinkled as he reassured Robin, who had given him a questioning look. Later, while the good friar cared for him, rubbing his legs and back, working the muscles of his hands and arms, he said, I was tired, but now I feel better. You are very kind." "I see that thou art getting stronger. It may be that rubbing helps thee. How, I know not. I am no physician. I'm but a foolish friar. But it may stir up thy blood and make thee more comfortable. God's good time, his sunshine, and the love that is born thee are all healing. A bright spirit helps too, and that thou hast. Today in the garden I felt that soon I shall walk," said Robin. "I must get well before my father returns from the wars." "Whether thou wilt walk soon, I know not. This I know. We must teach thy hands to be skillful in many ways, and we must teach thy mind to go where thy legs will carry thee or no. For reading is another door in the wall. Dost understand, my son?" Robin smiled and nodded. "Yes," he said, "I see now what you mean by the door in the wall. We shall read together. Then there is somewhat of the earth and stars that Brother Hubert can tell thee, how they go in their seasons, so that in summer, when we rise for the midnight office, Orion is here. Yet in winter at the same hour, he's over there." Brother Luke stopped rubbing to point in different directions overhead as he went on. "Some say that the earth extendeth just so far, then droppeth off into a vast sea. Perhaps it is so, I know not. But if it be so, how come the stars out again in the season? Who knows? Not I, but some day we shall know all." "Will you teach me to write too, and how to make letters as you promised?" Robin asked. "It sounds exciting now to learn, and I wish to send a letter to my father." "We shall begin today. We shall divide the days into teaching thy mind and teaching thy hands. Then weariness shall not give thee excuse for discouragement. Then Robin knew that Brother Luke had seen him throw the pieces of the cross and the chisel. Yet the friar neither spoke of it nor showed in any way that he was disappointed. Rest while I'm gone, continued Brother Luke, and I shall bring quill and parchment to pen a letter for thee. It so happens that 100 men-at-arms and 100 foot soldiers have sworn to serve loyally their king in the city of London and are leaving for the Scottish border tomorrow. With them goes a minstrel well known to us, one John Go-in-the-Wind. He will gladly carry thy letter and put it in thy father's hands. He soon returned with pen, inkpot, and parchment, and arranged them on the desk near Robin. Say this, Robin began, and then went on to dictate the words as the monk penned them. Sir John de Bureford from his son Robin. Greeting. It is a fine thing that your son Robin is left in the care of strangers. Had it not been for Brother Luke, who is writing this letter, I should be dead. As you know, my lady mother has been commanded to the attendance of the Queen at Windsor, and I was left to await the coming of John the Fletcher in the care of Dame Ellen. Just before the feast of St. Matthew, the 24th of February, I woke one morning unable to rise from my bed, being very ill. So that when John the Fletcher came to take me to my Lord Peter de Lindsay's castle in Shropshire, I was unable to go. Wherefore he sent a physician to care for me, who came not again, but left me as before in Dame Ellen's care. The men-at-arms are with you, as well you know. The house servants, even old Gregory, have left our service, for the plague had them. Ellen, too, was taken of it, and I was left alone and helpless. My legs are as useless as 2 sausages, bent ones. Now I am in the care of the good brothers at St. Mark's. How then shall I do? Send me a letter, I beg you, and farewell. Whew, now attend, said Brother Luke. I shall read this slowly, pointing out each letter and word, so this may be thy first lesson. The 2 heads bent over the parchment together, Brother Luke's tonsured, Robin's dark and thickly thatched. Oh, said Robin, you've made it look like poetry with red capitals. Yes, agreed Brother Luke, but when it is read to thee, 'twill not sound like poetry, I'll vow. Thou hast not minced words in thy letter. Slowly and carefully he spelled out the letter to Robin, who would not change a word of it, but signed his name, and Brother Luke guiding his hand. The friar folded it and took it to the scriptorium to seal before sending it off, then gave it to John Go-in-the-Wind, who waited. Okay, we're going to stop here because I'm having some technical difficulties again. But I wanted to say that the technique that the Brother Luke used is a technique that I have used to teach young children to read. One of the things that I used to teach was English as second language. And I had some children in kindergarten and first grade who were trying to learn how to read, but they didn't know enough English to read. The English they knew were not the words that they were having to learn how to read. So it made no sense to them. So I had them do exactly what Brother Luke did. I would show them pictures and they would tell me stories. And I would write the stories down so that then the kids were using the language they knew. And from that, I was able to teach them how to read. I would, exactly like Brother Luke did, I would point out the words and they would learn to read using those words, not the words in their reader in their classroom. Okay, that's all for today, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.